I don't think it started yet.
Oh, he started. I heard the music.
Yeah, but I got it up on my phone. Oh, we're starting.
You're probably on a lag there. Don't have that thing going too.
Yeah, good call. Good call.
And the Monday Night Lights is back. Kinda, sorta. I don't know. Troy's video seems to be out. But we're giving it a shot.
None of the videos are moving on the stream, so.
Oh no!
You guys are missing the best part of Troy's fucking bobblehead collection.
But yeah. So anyways, as always, give us a call on the Whoop line, 714-75-WHOOP. Email the show, podcast at mnlhl.com. Follow, subscribe, all of that fun stuff. As you could probably hear, Mr. Troy Otto is in the house.
What's up, guys?
We also have Dylan Lesnar.
What's up, boys?
Oh, geez. And Chad Polinsky joining us from Ann Arbor.
Yeah, you got to fix that video feed because that's a very unflattering picture of me on the stream there.
The camera adds 20 pounds.
It does. It wasn't even. It's not even. It just looks, and it's. I swear to God, I'm not. But it looks like I'm picking my nose. I'm not gold digging. All right.
So wait, there's no video, but there's just still shots of us looking fat.
We got
Piercy's moving.
We got still
Dylan
shots of Chad,
me.
and we got still shots of Dylan.
Nothing.
Troy has disappeared from the world, and
What's it on his phone?
Oh man!
Yeah, there we go.
Oh, my flat brim and everything.
Yeah. You guys definitely missed the best part of that intro. Not only were we not supposed to talk during the intro, when we did, we were laughing, but oh man, the
bobblehead collection.
Bobblehead, man. We got Tuesday up in here. Tuesday is joining us, special guest. Todd or Tuesday.
Yeah. So, anyways, for this, we might just have pictures of two people, mostly audio going on, but desperate times call for desperate measures. So who knows what's going on right now?
Change the picture.
I'm sorry, Chad. You get what you get.
Who knew Chad was so vain?
Yeah.
So vain.
Oh, I'm so vain.
Oh, we've always heard Chad. I feel like I'm
about me. All right.
I feel like I'm a little fat right now. I feel this. I feel that. Chad'll be okay.
Piercy, before we get going, since I'll let you, get things going, but since we don't have video, I just wanted the viewers at home to know we got Piercy at his house, very professional in the studio. Troy had to move to his son's room to get some privacy in the house. So I got all the toys. I got the bobbleheads. I got Red Wings. Then you got Chad. Just picture Michigan dorm room, dorky gamer, type situation.
Oh, man.
Lovable guy, but total gamer. And then you got Dylan in his bed in the sex dungeon, crawling out, got the arms up. That's where he brings home them thick girls that he brags about. So now we all have the mood.
Oh, that's to say, who knows if Dylan really brings home the ladies or not? I don't know.
Oh, I definitely know. That's a 10-4 good buddy.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah.
So anyways, as we kind of know, the finals was supposed to start on March 16th. Unfortunately, we're living in a COVID coronavirus world right now, and those got postponed. It did seem like at one point we were going to try to get game one in, got canceled, I think, that day. Troy is being in the ivory tower. Can you give us a little bit of background on how that decision was made to hold up on things?
Yeah, well, it's been 2 weeks, so it's kind of hard to remember. But, I guess leading into the Friday before, Hazel Park was still open. Hazel Park was open all weekend. And we were still, as a nation, still kind of, still understanding things. So I think a lot of people were still kind of socializing. Spring break was rocking down in Florida. So we kind of had made the decision that if Hazel Park was open, we were going to stay open, or we were going to play. This was as kind of like as Friday, but then like everything changed on a daily basis. And then by the time we got to Monday, kind of everything was kind of shutting down. And then we had some guys, more worried, and some people had unique circumstances where their own personal health or health of their family members. So we kind of made the decision to, shut it down, let's say Monday at like 9 a.m. And then I think Monday at 10 a.m., Governor Whitmer came in, and that's when they shut down anything. So even if, the decision was made for us, but I think we did come to the right decision ourselves. So it's kind of nice that we did that. At the time, we were very hesitant. We didn't think, even if it was going to be open for game 1, we thought there was a good chance that it wasn't going to be open for game 2 or 3. So the last thing we wanted to do was to play one game, have the North Stars win 8-0, and then got to wait three months for game 2. So we didn't want that to happen. So all in all, I think we made the right decision.
Wow.
What's wrong, Chad?
8-1? Did he say 8-1? Wow, that's a tall assumption there. I like it though.
You know those auto boys, they always have a little bit of their ego's a little inflated. They think they're a little bit better than they probably are. Let Troy have that moment. He needs it right now after last year, them losing in the finals, overtime game 3. He needs to dream a little bit that still he has a chance for the cup still.
Look at that. He's got an L too. Dude, these props are off the chain. I mean,
I know,
man.
Video.
Dude, yeah. Fix the video.
Little autobiography.
Where is this? Oh man, the viewers at home are missing out. Truly missing out.
This is a little sneak peek what you get with the old Goose and Sniper podcast. We'll be starting up soon, boys.
Yeah.
Dylan, did you move your microphone away again?
Good, better.
Yes, stop that. I've told you 3 times already. But yeah, I think it was a good idea to move that. We do plan on playing the finals, it sounds like, no matter what, though, before we start a new season. Is that correct?
Yeah. So, I mean, obviously, nobody knows for sure. Realistically, I think the earliest that we could possibly play would be May, and then whenever we start, we'll finish up the keg finals, and then we'll roll into that spring or summer season. The current spring season was kind of scheduled to start in April and end in June. So we do have some ability to bump that back, so if we start in May, then we can just easily go into July and still get the same amount of games that we were planning for. The tricky part, similar to Major League Baseball and the NHL, the premier athletes that we are, if we are off like 45 to 60 days, I kind of think that I don't think it would be right to just play game 1, like first time we played in 2 months. We might even need to have kind of like a warm-up week, just to kind of get our legs under us or something. That's something that we might need to be discussed depending on how long the layoff is.
Now, Chad, how long do you think it would take you if you haven't skated in a while to be ready for a game like that? Would you want a week? Do you think you could just go right at it? How would you approach that?
I mean, I think you could go right at it. Like, that's not an issue, but I do think that, it'd be nice if you want like the best quality, because you can't like mimic the pressure cooker that the playoffs are, right? Everyone's strung out at the end, everyone's tired, and trying to get to the end of the line when you're playing like meaningful hockey, quote unquote meaningful. As Troy said, we're not exactly professional athletes or anything, but you still get the same feelings of that. So you'd like to mimic that. You'd like both teams at their best. I think giving it at least week would be nice. If you had 2 weeks, that's probably too much. So if I had to choose between 1 week or 2, just at least 1. But 1 week, get everyone back together, and then just let them run.
And Dylan, as being one of the people involved in this game, do you feel like you would want a week of a warm up? Do you feel like you would be ready to go? How do you approach this?
I feel like I'm ready to go. I've been hitting the health and wellness pretty hard. I'm ready to go. I've had my son on the rollerblades shooting at me every day, so I'm geeked up and ready. But yeah, I would like to just jump right into it. I think it favors the Seals. I think we could steal that game 1.
There we go. See, that's the competitive edge set that we're looking for here.
Yeah, so I would like to jump right into it.
And again, a lot of it will depend on when rinks open. Like, if rinks open on a Wednesday, I mean, if we got K Phelps, WBW, and everyone's got a skate under their belt, then I guess we could kind of get right into it. But if literally like the first skate that anyone has is that Monday, and I'm not joking with this, it's like you can do all the running you want, you can do everything, but it's not the same as being in like the hockey movement and then to be in like that intense game when everyone's going like 120%. I see like the injury likelihood to go from 0 to playoff intensity for your very first skate, I think is a concern. That's number one. And then just for the quality of the game, it's like, again, you can do all the running and jogging, that you want, but you can't simulate the hands, So it's like, I imagine that first time for the players that they're on the ice, they're going to be bumblefucking a lot of pucks, and I just don't think the quality of hockey will be that good. But if the Seals want to go right out of the bat, we'll be ready.
Now, I don't think this actually matters all that much, but I guess I'll ask the question. Have we been in communication with the rink? Is it kind of, you had your contract with your time dates in it? Are they looking to work with us? Like I said, in the end, it doesn't matter. We know situations come up, but has there been any communication in that side of things?
Yeah, the rink is awesome. I mean, there's one old guy that, kind of runs everything. And obviously they like us, they're going to let us do whatever we want. They were going to stay open for us on that Monday if we chose to play, until the state came in and shut us down. So they'll let us do whatever they want. They're obviously not going to charge us for the ice that we didn't use. And the nice thing about it is just the way ice hockey works, the youth hockey's all done. So they're happy to sell ice in June, July, August. So they'll basically let us do whatever we want. And we have priority for that timesheet the whole year. 9 to 11 is Monday Night Lights, September through August, baby.
Yeah, that sounds very good. That the rink, they've been great to work with the whole time. They give us a lot of leeway as far as games go at the end, how, shootouts, all that kind of stuff. So it's hard to complain about the rink at all. So,
other than doors that don't function, but they're even working on that.
I mean, we'll live with that. I know the last couple of weeks when we were playing, or maybe it was the last week on the NHL ice, they were working on the benches, replacing those. Where I know one game where I was skating, they didn't have a bench, which was kind of a pain in the butt, but at least they're doing upgrades as well.
Yes, sir.
So I guess the next question would be and I'll start with Chad on this one because he's kind of a neutral party. Do you see this break hurting or helping either team, or is it neutral? We know Suits, he's been out. He had his injury. He had some test skates, but, possibility of him coming back. General's been hurt. There's that slim 0.0001% chance of him coming back.
What was the fist pump there, eh?
Because I want Suitsy back. This Doc Hollywood's too good.
Well, I'm still on that topic, right? I mean, I heard also Graham hasn't been there for a while. Is that true?
I believe that is true as well.
Yeah, Graham's attendance was horrible for a combination of, kids hockey, his work, and all that type of stuff. So in theory, his kids hockey's done. He should be ready to go. We'll see.
So the big question for me is, what was the difference between Doc Hollywood and Suits? Because that's going to be the big factor. If there's enough time allotted where Suits can come back and he's, anywhere from, 60, 70% to 100 back to where he was. I mean, that's a game changer, right? Depending on how good Doc Hollywood Andrus stepped in.
Yeah. So the situation with Suits has basically been, ever since it happened, and then when he thought about coming back. I mean, the ball is in Suitsy's court. It's his spot. He paid for the spot. And I think when it came down to the playoffs, it was like he really didn't feel like he's probably at 90%, maybe even 95, but he just, having sat out maybe like 2 or 3 months, he kind of didn't feel like he could go 100%. And then he also didn't want to, it was very unselfish of him. He didn't want to come in and, kind of ruin our chemistry when he's not feeling 100%. I would suspect if this thing drags out to mid-May that he probably will be at 100%. And then would be, if he wants to play, it's his spot to play, and it's just that they're completely, we've had this discussion before, just two different players. Suitsy is his top end speed when he's fully healthy is probably number one in the league, maybe number two behind Pistol Pete. I know he's listening. But Suits is a north south racehorse, and Doc is more of an artist out there. He's east west, toe drags, creative. I think he does do a better job of making his teammates better, than Suitsy does. So that's really the big difference. Like individually, they're both going to get their points and their stats, but I do think Stevie sees the ice a little bit better, has a little bit better timing, than Suitsy does. And part of that's because he's played, 2 to 3 months with us, and Suits just came in and he hasn't played a lot. So we'll see. But we're gonna win. We're gonna win the keg with Suits, with Doc, whoever.
There we go. Yeah, see, that's what I like to hear.
Fired,
I mean,
shots
so
fired.
as far as the season started and then there was a game break or not of a game break, I think if there was no break and we went straight at it, I mean, I think like that would help to slow down some of the speed of Shawnee and Chris Pfister, and then that could kind of even it up or help out the Stars. I know Dylan wants to get right back at it, but I think that would actually hurt. Now, given a week, you look at how the Stars are built, and I think that week is gonna, it won't help them, I think, as much as the Seals settling in and getting that one skate under. Because even though like you have to think that Shawnee's a really good athlete and Chris Pfister's a really good athlete, that if they get, the wind out of their sails, if you jump right back at it, it's not going to help them at all. So I think if you wait a week, it's going to help out the Seals more than the Stars.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. I don't know if I think there's an advantage from starting a week or not. I do think it'll be very interested on the North Star side of things with what is their lineup like. Has there been someone who's been subbing normally for Graham Troy?
Not really. I mean, it's kind of a mixed bag. We had, in an ideal world, we had Rubel going for a little bit, and that was working very well. But then Rubel came down with mono, so we played game 2 and 3 with Brawny. So then going into the finals with obviously General not playing, the Seals were going to take Rubel, but he's out. So then they grabbed Matt Lapudre. We all saw the video of that. And so we were, if we had played that game 1, we had Edge in the lineup for Graham. So, but it doesn't, they play the same, whoever that player is, whether it's Graham, Edge, Rubel, I mean, they're playing on that they're playing right D on the top line. So it doesn't really mess with the lineup, but obviously, and the thing with Graham, it's like, I know, like, Matt Lapudre is a better player than Graham. I'm not saying that. But if Graham would actually, skate, he's got some type of general in him, not to the same degree, but if he would actually skate 3 weeks in a row, he plays well. But then he doesn't play for 2 months, and you show up and play one game, then you're just not going to be good playing, once every 2 months. It's just, and Graham doesn't have a second skate. He doesn't play on Wednesdays or Saturdays or Sundays. So we're happy to have him if he's actually going to be committed to the team. If he's not, I'd rather roll with somebody, like Edge.
Yeah, that's funny. I love how you're talking about, you're essentially, Edge is great, this and that. Graham, if he did this, if he did that, if he did this, we'd be happy to have him on the team if he did all that. It's you kind of like, hey, I'm calling into the podcast right now, not to brag about myself, even though I had 3 goals and 2 assists last night. So got that auto magic working. Now, Dylan, I'm sure, do you care either way who you're facing in those matchups, or you just get me out there, you're going to win them a game?
I
think he just said he was afraid of Doc Hollywood. Didn't he say that?
Ooh.
Shots fired.
Let him talk.
I feel a little bit of both. I feel as if I'm good enough to steal at least one game during the series, but also with Doc Hollywood out there, he's going to create more chances for everybody else. And then also when he needs, like, let's say it's a 2-1 game and we're up, and it's 3 minutes left in the third period. If there's an opportunity in front of the net, he's pretty good at putting it home, no matter what the situation, no matter if I'm where I'm at in the net. So in that token, I would rather face Suitsy, but at the end of the day, whoever they throw out there, I mean, I'm stepping up, playing my A game. You're gonna steal us at least one game. Fisher's gonna steal us the other. 2-0. North Stars ain't even going to get a win in this one, boys. And then we're raising the keg.
2-0.
Now, if we had to guess, let's start with Troy. When do you think MNL will the finals will begin?
Like I said, my realistic guess is kind of like mid-May. You know, I pray that it's earlier than that, but just the way I can't imagine, just the way everything's trending, it doesn't seem like we're going to be coming out of this in 2 weeks. You know, so it'll probably be hopefully by like a month. You know, the numbers will start going down, and then I don't think they're just going to reopen everything. You know, I think it'll be kind of like maybe by the end of April we'll have things calm down. Then a couple more weeks go by, and then they open some stuff up. So, you know, that's kind of my best guess is mid-May.
Now,
Hey, real quick. I know we already talked about this, but I want to go back. So if we do get that one skate in before, is that going to be like a little drop-in game where everybody's invited, or
Of
should
course.
we just
Yeah.
have the North Stars and the Seals? We kind of just throw sticks in the middle. So I mean, so it's not just like game 1B. So we'll have a little
No.
bit each team on each side.
I don't want it to be a competitive in that, like North Stars versus Seals at all. I think everyone will be chomping at the bit to get on the ice. So I envision using, a 9 o'clock game, a 10 o'clock game, maybe even all 3 sheets if we get 60 guys. But it's really just to kind of get everyone out there playing hockey, and it has nothing to do with the Seals North Stars. That's kind of what I envisioned. This hasn't been, this has not been hashed out yet. So obviously you got to take in the account of the Ivory Tower and the other participants, but that's kind of what I was thinking. I don't know what Piercy's got next on the checklist, but I sense we're moving on. I did want to talk one thing, because now that we're till May 15th, but I was prepared for that game 1. We were prepared for the Whoop Doop playing forward. Like that was kind of what we were anticipating happening. They've been training that secret weapon on K-Felks Wednesdays. But the one thing that I do like about playing the Seals is I hope that Todd, and this is a call out, and the Tigers were so annoying. They were afraid to match up Pfister with the Pete line, and it was smart. It was a wise tactical decision, but it made it extremely annoying. Like they take like a 20-second shift and then change them up, and on the fly. So I'm hoping that the Seals just throw their best out there, Pfister and Shawnee up against Pete, and Pete's going to shut them down, and then we win on line 2. It's the same formula. So I hope that the Seals don't kind of wuss out and try to like match lines and get Pfister, away from Pete.
You don't like the aspect of matching teams? It's like a point of pride. Like, they don't want to match up against Pfister. Like, they're scared.
They're scared of Pete. They don't want Pete on Pfister. That's
Wait, who said that?
There we go.
The Tigers.
The Tigers did. We're not the Tigers.
And that's what I'm saying. I'm looking forward to that. It was just like good on good. You put your best out there. We'll put our best out there and see who comes out on top.
Now, I was above my pay grade. I don't know what we're going to do, but whatever we decide to do, we're going to win. It don't matter. If we want our dick sucked, we get our dick sucked at the end of the day.
What is that?
So wow. you just said it was a smart move.
Hedis says if it's August, cancel it and put both teams on the cup. So that's a good one.
Yeah, that's not happening.
Ben says, hi, Chad. What's up?
So, Troy, you just said that it was a smart move by the Tigers to do that. Why would you look down upon it to actually do that? If the Seals did that, maybe you should be, making your shifts shorter for your guys, and they should be kind of mimicking then. Maybe it's the North Stars aren't being smart enough to keep those matchups together.
Look down on it is not the right term. And I said it was good strategy. And it wasn't like they took a minute and a half. I'm saying it was annoying for the flow of the game. Like we would put our line out there and then they'd like literally like dump the puck in 10 seconds and then go change. So then we got to go with them. And I get it. It's kind of gamesmanship, but I'd rather just go good on good for the convenience and the flow of the game. But I'm not going to think less of them other than the fact that they're scared to throw Pfister out there, against Pete.
I don't know. It sounds like to me you're just trying to rile up Whoop to do what you want him to do, because I have no doubt if you thought that
that's the real gamesmanship. It's the auto versus auto, like the auto mind games.
It's a champ. It's not like I'm not making a secret out of that, Piercy. That's exactly what I'm doing. I'm calling them out. I'm saying we're gonna roll. If they've rolled Pfister and Shawnee out all year as their top line, we're going to put Pete out there, and we'll see if they switch it up or if they just let it roll. So we'll see.
Are you scared of Fister? Are you scared of your second line not being able to handle Fister?
Yeah, of course. I mean, like Doc, they're just different. Doc, Gio, and Ty have been a great line for us scoring goals. But in that game against the Tigers, it was like a 6-5 game. They scored 5, they gave up 5. They're not a great defensive line. Me, Pete, and Joe are better defensively. So yes, scared isn't the right word, but my preferred matchup is to have Pete against Fister.
Sounds like maybe the North Star should consider switching up their lines. Maybe switch you and Ty.
We'll see, buddy. Everything's on the table. We'll see.
Got to turn it around a little bit on you. So, Chad, as being the smartest one in this call, being a Michigan man and all, what's your prediction for when everything will get back to hockey being back in play for us?
Smartest one. First of all, I just want the viewers and the folks at home to know that I did not deem myself as the smartest one in here. All right, that wasn't me. All right. Second of all, man, it's such a tough call. I mean, we're not going anywhere for a while. I think the extreme earliest it would be is like 3 weeks, and that's like not going to happen. Like there's a 0% chance of that happening. It's going to be months. I would say it's going to be like June or July at the realistic earliestness, and that might not even happen either. But if it's June or July, then who knows what all the major leagues are going to do at that point in time. Like they scrap season, who knows? So it's so hard for me to even come up with approximate thing. The nice thing about MNL is that like if it's June or July and we can go out there and actually play these games, that it's all right for us to do so. So you can easily do that where nothing's lost, nothing gained. So that's all I have to say about that. If I had to predict, I would say June or July at the earliest.
I think I'm a little bit closer with you, Chad. I think my original thought was we'll probably get the Cup Finals in. I would have to guess we're not actually going to have a spring season. Anybody who paid for it already has a nice down payment already for MNL next year, and we'll have a couple skates for our August kind of tryouts or warm ups, and hopefully enough to actually get those Dangle Sauce jersey orders in and go from there. So. I'm not feeling good about it. If I had to guess, NBA season's going to be doesn't finish up. NHL not going to finish up, and probably baseball is going to be 50 game, 60 game season, which is going to be kind of depressing all throughout.
Yeah, I think coronavirus is on I think that was on your little chart, so I don't want to jump ahead too much, but this self-isolation wouldn't be so bad if you're just chilling at home watching just awesome sports, but the no sports combined with social distancing is brutal.
Yeah, it's a little tough, and then especially it's even going to get worse if it does start getting into that June, July months where it's getting warm, hot, super nice out. You want to go outside, you want to enjoy that weather. We'll see. I don't know if there's been any official word on like golf courses or anything like that, but it's just going to make for a depressing summer, unfortunately.
I mean, up until the state of emergency, curfew or whatever that was imposed, yesterday, Sunday, I heard golf courses were still open. You just couldn't. You had one person to a cart and everything. So
yeah, they were, but it's dead now.
Yeah, definitely dead now.
Yeah, that's one of the sports where you feel like there would be a chance as long as it's one person to a cart. You don't open up the clubhouses. I don't know if they'll change any of that. I don't know if it'll turn into, kind of stay in your house order and 3 weeks will go away, but it's still work from home, all that stuff. Who knows what's going to go on? And I think the other, we're kind of on the subject right now. The other scary thing is if it calms down like it has in China or other places, you actually get people out there and, people back kind of normal lives again. If a couple of people have it, does it start spreading all over again? I don't know. I'm not smart enough for any of that, but it's a scary thought.
Historically, there will be a spike once everyone comes back. That's to be expected. Hopefully at that point in time we can handle it and it won't be a big respread. It'll be a spike, but it won't be like a respread. That's the story. Hedis over here with the "We want spring and summer," and then 1, 2, 3, 4 messages later wants to redeem a highlight for again "We want spring and summer." There's no activity in the chat, Hedis. Like we can see it. So I can't believe that you would want spring and summer over like MNL finals. I mean, I guess I can because you're out of it, but
he's a GM. He wants to prove his glory and how good he is at all this.
I do want to see Hedis at GM. Yeah, selfish as hell. Wow. The four is the bobblehead.
I mean, is there anything more selfish than that? Like, I'm out, so we don't need the keg finals. Let's go to spring. I mean, that's just the definition of selfish.
Okay, so next thing real quick is, how are people holding up with hockey? Feeling out of shape? Are you able to heal up from the bumps and bruises? Dylan, it seems like you're a little bit stir crazy. Why don't you go first?
Yeah, I'm going fucking banana lands, boys. I mean, I've been working out hardcore, and then as soon as I'm hitting my stride, they close the fucking gyms down, dude. Only thing I want to do is pick things up and put them down, do my fucking curls, do my bench presses, and they shut that fucking down. So now I'm resorting to have to run in the dirt because my ankle's all fucked up, so I can't run on pavement. So I got to go find sand and dirt around the house, go run up and down that. But yeah, besides that, I'm feeling good. Been hanging out with the kids. Got the kids strapped on the rollerblades. He's been shooting at me. So I'm ready.
I love how Dylan thinks that his 8-year-old son shooting on him now has him prepared to jump right into the Stanley Keg Finals.
His 8-year-old might be better than you, Troy. I don't know. You've been on him this year, but
I've seen 8-year-olds shoot the puck. I mean, maybe he's lucky if he can get it in the air.
There you go.
Now, Chad, being the social butterfly that you are, how are you handling the quarantine?
Right. Exactly. So if you know anything about me, you know that I'm super introverted, and the real truth is that I'm actually more introverted than you think. I would describe myself as like a high functioning introvert. So the telltale sign here is that even I want to go out and like do stuff and be social and see people. So yeah, it's not the greatest, at the start it was like, oh, this is great, we're all shut in, this is amazing. and and then it's just like, when is this gonna end? Let's go out, hang out, let's do stuff. So
I might be more introverted than you, apparently. I think I've seen 2 people in the last 2 weeks in person. So one of them was one of my buddies. He has a kid. They go for walks. He was in my backyard twice, staying far away. My mom actually dropped some stuff off. She actually works at a hospital, so wouldn't let me actually get close to her. She dropped stuff off. I saw her, though, in person, got to talk to her. Outside of that, I haven't seen anybody in 13 days or talked to someone in person. I feel like I'm still holding up strong. I mean, Troy, I'm sure you're struggling. You were calling me up yesterday asking me how I was doing. I'm just like, life's fine. No different than normal.
Yeah, I do feel bad. On a serious note, I do worry about the people that live by themselves, and I mean I'm isolated with my family, so it's like tons of activity, too much activity, But for single people that just don't have any human interaction, and we're only a week and a half into it, so I do worry about that. But from my perspective, it's I've never had more time to I have 4 kids, and between work and the kids, it's like hockey's my one thing. I don't have any time to do anything. So I feel like people go one of 2 ways. You got the people that are just going to sit there and do nothing except watch TV and drink beer and kind of gain weight. I've heard people talk about the Corona 19, the Corona 19 pounds, but I'm kind of, me and Whoop are the opposites. I'm walking every day because it's the highlight of my day is to go for a walk. So I've been running about 4 or 5 miles a day. So I'm hoping to be skinny, by the time this whole thing starts up. So I actually enjoy it if you didn't have the worry associated with it, the health worry, the financial worry, and then the lack of sport. But otherwise, it's this is awesome. It's you don't have anything to do.
I was going to say, what is the Auto's definition of social distancing? Because I see a lot of videos with a lot of people in them every day.
Yeah. I mean, and that's basically, I can't speak for Ty and Todd, but for me, it's on Sunday we went to the Troy High track and for the race, and we walked around the track. I made sure I stayed away for 6 feet from everybody, and the track was packed. I mean, there were kids doing soccer clinics, which to me was a big no. Then there were some moms walking, but other than the occasional trip to the Troy High track to beat Whoop in the 100-yard dash, I mean, I've been staying home and straight to work, straight home. Maybe the gas station. That's a big trip. So,
oh yeah, I did forget. Besides the 2 people, I picked up Jets on Saturday, and I went to the beer store last Thursday to get some Oberon. So I did see 2 other people there for contact, but outside of that, I've had practically none. So I mean, there's work. You're on calls, things like that. So not quite the same, but with working from home, it is a little bit strange. I didn't even have to do laundry this weekend because I was pretty much in my pajamas the whole time.
Same underwear the whole week,
No, I make sure
saves on laundry.
I take a shower every day. I wake up in the morning, I go straight to work, and I take the shower right afterwards, and change all that stuff up. But same pajama pants, everything like that. So it's been kind of nice
feel like
in a way.
P. Diddy when you wake up.
Brush
your teeth with a bottle of Jack.
Do you lay out your pajamas every night before you put them on? They have like little dinosaurs on them.
Onesie.
No, they're Super Mario ones, but it doesn't matter.
I can't not have pajamas. I'm wearing them right now. I don't know if you guys aren't wearing them. You're at home. Shame on you guys. Comfy, man. Comfy.
Yeah, but the hardest thing is just no hockey. For me, not going to the gym, there is the worrisome of my weight stayed practically the same, but it's also like, am I losing muscle, gaining a little bit of fat? I guess it is what it is right now. Lucky for me, I did have my stomach. I had a pulled muscle in it or something to that realm. It is feeling better, so I was missing some hockey anyways, so I should be good to go when things come back. So that part is nice, but I'd rather have everybody else be playing hockey, being able to go out and do stuff and, have fun. So I know the last thing we wanted to do on the day was...
Real quick before we move on to that, I am saying I am willing to break the law. I'm willing to put handcuffs on. I am going to race Sweet Maki next weekend if he's not too chicken. Because I'm so curious. I'm so curious. I looked up this kid's cross country stats, and I know Piercy, you say it's cross country. It's not track. But if you can run the times that he's running, those were extremely impressive. So you have this like gifted cross country athlete, but he's got to be 260, 270 pounds. But Cone tells me he runs like the wind. So I have to see what this looks like. I don't care if we do it in the, in a parking lot, if he comes over to my house, and we can stay 12 feet apart, but I want to see what Sweet Maki, I have to have this race. I'm sick and tired of beating up on
I need a Dylan laugh track along with my life. He just makes everything better. When you start laughing, just makes everything better. Yeah, that'll be exciting. Just stay safe, obviously.
I'm crying.
According to Mackey, he was like 100 pounds lighter when he was running those times. No offense to Mackey, there's no way he is a speedy sprinter right now at this point in his life.
And
he's not facing a speedy sprinter. He's facing me. But I'm telling you, these guys that can run, they're like light on their toes. It's like I'm a flat-footed. Like when I run, it's like pound, pound, pound. Like I'm just sound like an elephant coming through. So I just know that Maki's going to be this little prancer, and he's going to be quick. I just have to see it for myself.
I've seen Mackey on skates before, and the last thing I would think of when he's on skates is light on his toes.
I know. That's what, again, I'm just blown away because I don't know how you can be that good of a runner and then be that bad at hockey. So I'm just so fascinated to see what it looks like.
Wow.
I got to see it.
It's obvious, right? Running is not equal to skating and vice versa. Running is not skating.
I guess.
Brian.
We'll see.
I will say this. If you lose a race to Charles Mackey, you should just retire from all athletics. I'll say that.
Wow. That's selling my boy Charles low. Like, come on.
I think I'm the underdog, like, legit. I'm not expecting to win. I don't know. Cone makes him sound like he's a ninja, so I'm just so intrigued.
I like the research. You looked at his high school times, man. Have you seen the pictures of his time or his pictures of what he looked like at the time? He was a perfect build for a cross country runner.
Yeah, I get it. But I googled Charles Mackey, cross country or track, and I got all his times, and it's like he was like number 20 in the state. It's like no joke. He was legit.
So last thing on the agenda was Troy wanted to look back at some of the teams that now have been eliminated for a season wrap of kind of what went right, what went wrong with those teams. So we'll start out with, I guess, the team that did not make the playoffs. Troy, we're going to let you kick these off and kind of lead them since it's your thing. But tell us about the Ducks.
Yeah, I mean, I just thought it'd be kind of fun. I don't know if we did this, every team had kind of their funeral, but the Ducks, unfortunately, I think when we did the official predictions, I had them 6th and not 7th. But I mean, when we led up to the podcast, I was low on the Ducks from the get-go. I thought they made and again, people like to put the blame on Ben. If you look at the stats, I mean, I think Ben was a top 5 scorer in the league. I really do think, you can say he might have been overdrafted, but I mean, he produced. He produced for them.
The Tigers too.
Yeah, and then he produced for the Tigers. So I really don't think it was Ben's fault. I think they made a couple mistakes. Sorry, the phone dropped there. I think they made a couple mistakes in the draft, taking like Oliveri and Bauer a little too high. And in their defense, I think Bauer, the Bauer that we knew was, I think, by his own admission, was like 30 pounds lighter. So I think he kind of put on some weight. So they drafted him, I think, like 5th or 6th round, probably 6th round. I think they didn't get the production that they needed out of him, which led to them having kind of a weak second line the whole year, And the other thing, hot take, like Sugar, I don't think Sugar produced like the number 2 overall pick. I mean, he was drafted, number 3 overall pick. But I'm not saying he had a bad year, but, I just don't. Sugar was not like taking over games, and he didn't. For them to be good, it's like Sugar and Ben had to score a lot of goals, and I feel like Ben held up his end of the bargain kind of more than Sugar did. The other thing is, I knew just coming off of the knee injury, I was a little skeptical of the Ryan Z. I know he had a good year last year for us, but I kind of expected him to take a step back, and I think that happened. They had the opportunity to draft Dylan, and they didn't. And again, hindsight's 2020, but just basically nothing went right. And then Turtle got hurt, so it was just nothing went right for the Ducks. And pretty much the season played out how I expected, with them being dead last.
Any thoughts on the Ducks, Dylan?
I think they had the opportunity. They had the personnel to be very, very good. I just don't think everything just clicked for them. There was just always something missing, just a cog in the machine missing. If they could have all came together at the right time, right opportunities, right moments, and potted those goals, or stopped opportunities one way or another, I could see their season going very, very, very different. But they never seemed to be able to put it all together. There's always something missing with them.
Thoughts, Chad?
Yeah, I mean, I basically said it all. I don't know. Looking at it, I don't know if I agree with Bauer that's taking too high at like 6, but yeah, I mean, they have a good team. I think the biggest thing with the league is just taking a power creep, and I think the Mighty Ducks in this case were just a victim of the power creep.
It's a tough thing. I didn't like this team from the start. I picked them to miss the playoffs. I thought Ben was drafted too high, but he did have a really good season. Turtle, obviously, that injury hurts them a lot. I thought it's very tough in our league with someone like Rubel. He's so good at defense. He's one of the top guys in the league. But if someone that's drafted that high is not consistently scoring points, it's going to put your team in a hole. And I think they were one of the teams that had a high defenseman that just hurts them in the end. I think the Whalers, in a lot of ways, had that too. You could say Trent's playing forward most of the year. He did play defense there, but his strength is on a high level team, probably as a defender there. So I think it's a very similar combo there. And I think it's very hard to say where you should take that first high level defenseman. I think that was one of the things that really hurt them. So next team on the list, Troy, is your probably favorite team outside of your own, the Nordiques.
Yeah. Well, I was a Ducks fan all year, man. I mean, I always cheer for the underdogs, so I was pulling for the Ducks all year. I subbed for the Ducks quite a bit, so I really was hoping up until the end that they'd, make that little push. But the Nordiques, again, they were a team. They were the team that I actually picked, seventh, when it came to prediction time. So I had the Ducks 6th and the Deeks 7th, so I had a flip flop. But I didn't like I thought their top 4 picks were fine. They got Pete and Andy Fenn. They got that kind of combo. And then they took Gio and Kimmel at 3-4. And then I think where things went south for them, and I remember saying at the time, is that at 5 and 6, they took Dougie and Sukas. And that's nothing against Dougie and Sukas, but that's like your top D pairing. And I just think there were better players on the board at that time. Like I think they passed on an Allen Z. I think that Gangster Wood was available. There was
gangster.
If you look at that draft board, there were better players kind of after that. And then the Panty situation, and then you had Goma, and then just by the structure of that team, they had Wright and Dragovich, so they were stuck with their two good forwards, one bender, 2 good forwards, one bender, and then their defense. If you talk with Pistol Pete, he blamed it all on their, which is why he got traded. He blamed it all on their defense. He said they couldn't get out of their zone, so then him and Fem couldn't get going. But they never, right from the get-go, I thought that team was going to struggle with chemistry. So whatever Pete and Fem couldn't get going, Gio and Kimmel couldn't get going. I think then they played Pete and Gio, so they just could never get the chemistry going to consistently score goals. And then they had a suspect defense, and it all added up for just a very average and mediocre season. Oh, the Brennan thing really hurt them too. Him having a broken back for, half the year, missing all that time. And then when he did come back, he wasn't himself. So they just had a lot of things kind of going against them. And it was just a very average, basically a typical Nordique season, other than their one exception, when they won the keg.
Yeah. During their draft, I liked their first picks like you did. And then during that Swokis, Dougie slot, I thought they should have took a forward there. I thought at that point you knew you were going to have your one bender kind of with your last pick, and you had enough defensemen at that near the end where you could slot them and still be fine there. Preseason, I actually thought they played good. I subbed for them, and I liked their team a lot more than I thought they would. But my initial reaction was good there. Obviously, they made the trade. I think it made their team worse. You can't blame Drager if he doesn't think something's going to work to, throw a Hail Mary to try to make the team better. Obviously, it didn't work. But I think it's better to try something than to sit there and, do nothing. So,
yeah, that trade obviously helped us quite a bit. And it's been talked about.
Yeah, it did.
Yeah, I mean, we don't, but that's been talked about plenty. But I don't think it it's not like the Nordiques were killing it before that trade. I mean, they made that trade because nothing was fucking working. So.
Oh yeah, for sure, I get where they're coming from. But I mean, that was like the golden basket just landed right in your fucking lap, dude. That made you guys so much better.
Golden basket that landed in your lap. Wow. Shawnee, Fister, Rattler off the top 3. That's a pretty good golden basket right there.
Oh, no. Don't get me wrong. I mean, we got the better golden basket. We got the golden bundle.
And that's what I want to hear.
I will say that now that it's all been done, the season's over, I caught wind, that there was a little, uneasiness in the Nordiques locker room. Pistol Pete, God love him. He talks about him, he talks about himself, and he can get on some people. So I kind of got the impression that the Nordiques, that he was wearing the management a little thin. Yep. And that they were thinking about shipping him out to the Tigers, and and I can't remember who the Tigers offered, but it was not a good package. So then I kind of just dangled a little fruit in front of Panty, and then bing, bang, boom, and then I was like, "Fuck
Judge
yeah!"
fruit.
Imagine that. Imagine.
Wow. Well, the rumors.
And I will say, I'm going to pat myself on the back a little bit here. Is that when I made that trade?
Don't hurt yourself.
I know, but I'm just going to say. We all knew Pete. Everyone knows Pete. He's a known commodity. But Gio had done absolutely nothing for the Nordiques. So I told him that my number one priority here is to get Gio going, So I wasn't going to put Gio with Pete because that was a failed experiment on the Nordiques. I said, I'm going to put Gio with Doc, instant Italian chemistry. Doc's going to get Gio the puck. And Gio's been scoring ever since he's been a North Star, Yeah. So that was another part of that trade that worked out fantastic.
But imagine that, boys. Imagine Pete on the Tigers I would love to. I would love to see the almost trades throughout the year.
Uh,
How much different the MNL season would have been.
Chad, I felt like you were going to
I
talk
can't
about a
remember.
rumor that you were hearing in a trade. Did you hear anything that almost went down?
I was just gonna say all the rumors are coming out. The season's not even over yet, even though it's kind of technically over. Not technically over, it's like almost over. But it's good to hear all the rumors, all the trash talking. It's just a little fun to hear all these snippets and stuff of a league that I have no affiliation and no willing affiliation anymore. So, on topic of the Nordiques, I think Troy said it was average season. I mean, given that they were like lowest of low and then highest of high, like it's an all right season. I think it's kind of funny they went with like Fem, but Fem actually, I thought when they picked Fem, they were gonna go back to like we're gonna pick friends and stuff, and I think that doesn't necessarily work out in MNL, but it worked out for him in that sort of pick. So,
and it's hard.
Yeah.
Remember, Panty ended up being out the whole season, which, Guma was a pretty good player. They brought in guys that, especially when you could sub up at the beginning of the year, that probably helped things out. But, essentially having your team leader, your GM not being on the ice, I think that does hurt the team in general, just the spirits of the team and everything else. So that's one more
killer
factor as well.
Yeah,
So
I think Gummo is probably a better skater than Panty and does some things better, but Gummo was not a good defenseman, and they needed him to play defense, so it was not a good fit. Like, I think he coughed the. Like, Panty is a trustworthy defenseman, kind of in the Piercy role. Like, he's a good defenseman. He's gonna play. He's not gonna be a playmaker back there, but he's reliable. Like, Gummo was kind of. I think he's more talented than Panty, but I think he coughed up the puck, and I think they eventually wound up move. Part of the reason they made that trade is because they wanted to move Gummo up to forward, and they had their moments after the trade. And then again, Judge got hurt.
They just need to score more goals. That's it.
Yeah.
I mean, Koner played great. He locked it down for the most part, but they just couldn't fucking score goals. If you can't score goals, you can't win.
So another one of your favorite teams, Troy, or at least that you like to talk about or rip on, the Whalers. Go ahead and give us your take on them.
Yeah, I mean, I just feel like they deserve it. I don't mean that to be. I'm not even like intentionally poking, but we all thought me, you, Piercy, and Hedis. We all thought coming out of the draft that the Whalers had a very good team, and they did. There's no excuse for how they finished. Their 9th round pick, I believe, was Weaver. But they, and then they had Old Man Ike, but they had a very deep team, but they just couldn't get it. They couldn't push the right buttons. And again, I think the Trent Serta, marriage, just for whatever reason, didn't click on the ice. Like they didn't have the chemistry to produce the goals. The whole Dave P and Peso, they couldn't get that magic going. I mean, Peso scored, it was a big joke. He was scoreless the whole year. They couldn't piece it together. And ultimately I blame that on Serta and Trent. I know from talking with Dave P quite a bit, he was frustrated because he thought that Serta, the way he played, he should have maybe played on the second line to babysit some of the lower guys, because Serta's more of a north-south player, whereas Dave P thinks he can make, maybe get Trent going or something like that. But I just think that they were just a disappointing for the talent that they had. They were by far the biggest disappointment as far relative to preseason expectations. And I will say one thing. I've played with Trent now as much as you have, Piercy. He is a better forward than he is a defenseman. When the Whalers played the Americans twice. They played them in the last game of the regular season and in the playoffs, and they came up with this brilliant strategy that Trent was going to shut down Proctor, and that was just a horrible decision because Trent didn't shut down Proctor, because Trent likes to jump. He's not a stay-at-home defenseman. Trent likes to jump in the play and make stuff happen, and then you leave vulnerable counterattacks. And then not only that, then you're taking your best finisher. Whalers' best finisher was Trent. So then you put him back on defense. It was just a horrible strategy, and they lost at the regular season, then they lost in the playoffs. So and because of that, I think the Whalers, as we know it, are dead. I think I don't know if Trent will keep the Whalers or Serta, but the Whalers will not be the Whalers, next year in the same management.
Oh, Hedis Whalers? Is that?
No, I think one of them will stay on and then take on a partner. But I think
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Hedis comes in, slides into that GM role.
We'll see. There's been some talk, but I think that divorce will happen, and then I think they'll both benefit from that because they were both kind of Certain and Trent were both kind of second round guys. So one of them with the new talent that's been into the league, I think they're kind of both second round picks. So I think they'll slot that way, and then hopefully they'll find success next year.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I think that was the hardest part of the Whalers was that, they're both fantastic players. Serta's a great player. Trent's a great player. It's just MNL, you always need like that top end. You need that high end thing to get your gear going, right? You need to kick it in high gear with like your best players. And, they're good, but they're not going to eclipse the top echelon. So you need that high end. Unfortunately, because of how the GMs work out, they could never get that because they were either stuck with that's their second and third round pick, or now Serta was the first round pick and Trent is the second. So especially like Troy said with the new talent, it's just a higher end in MNL now.
Yeah, it was tough because one of those things with being on the team is first. It was actually a really good locker room, which is always nice to have. Good personalities. Everybody had fun. But some reason the team didn't gel. Trent at the end was kind of, let's try some more combinations. Trent's playing forward the whole year. Let's see if Ait, moving him up to forward, if that with Trent back there would help anything. Obviously, it didn't work, especially in that playoff game. But, things just didn't gel. I don't know how things were on the trade front about what we could or couldn't do for that side of things, but obviously there was nothing that made us pull the trigger. So it's a tough thing. It was disappointing.
I'd like to jump in on that too, because I heard it was a constant podcast. I hear Piercy say, well, Serta, he's a capital equity guy, so he's only going to make a trade if, it makes sense and blah, blah, blah. And Serta's great. And he's obviously very smart, but Serta doesn't, and he likes playing in the game, but Serta doesn't love MNL at the level that is required in that, as far as like engaging in trade talks, like I couldn't get the Whalers to even talk trade, so I don't think they made an offer all year. So I think and they had a lot of pieces. Like they were a team that could have packaged like 2 middle round guys for a high round guy. Cause they had that, they could have done some stuff. And they just really didn't try. Maybe because they bought all that cool dangle sauce stuff at the beginning of the year and they didn't want to do it. But that was a team that had so many pieces and they just couldn't. So just a huge disappointment. And Peso takes a lot of that blame too, because you draft Peso to put the puck in the net. That's what he gets drafted for. And he didn't do that. So he bears a lot of the blame as well.
The hard part with Peso is that anytime you trade the guy, he explodes and he's going to score a ton of goals. If you don't, he's going to hurt you. So actually, he didn't even hurt. He was scoring at the end of the year. He was picking it up. So that's not even a fair statement on my side of things. He played pretty good all year. It's tough. Competition's going up. Things aren't mixing well. Peso, you need him. He probably shouldn't be your number one guy on a line. He needs to be set up. He needs a guy that can set him up.
AP.
And he's got a hell of a shot when he's in the right situations, but you got to get him in that proper spot to get a shot off, and he wasn't able to do that most of the year.
My point is, though, the whole reason
real quick, Troy. I've got cut off 5 times. So I think the Whalers are built. Everybody needs to contribute. It wasn't one guy. It's not like the Americans where Proctor goes off. It's not like us where the Fisher goes off. I think every single player needed to have a couple points for them to be good, and they just weren't able to do that.
I think that's very accurate. But again, that's where the trade kind of creativity comes in, because when word got out that the Deeks were looking to make a trade, they could have packaged like a Dave P and a Turnbull and for like a Pete and a Dragovich. Like they could have done that kind of 2-for-1 type of trade, or at least explored it, and they never did. So they didn't
have me to trade for like Kimmel and that's the real problem.
Exactly. Is Dylan here? Because I'm just looking at him passed out.
I'm here. I'm here.
The screen's frozen.
So we got two more teams real quick. So let's go on to the Tigers.
Yeah, so these next two, like the Tigers and the Americans, obviously they made it to the semifinal. So I think they can both, hold their heads high, as successful seasons. So the Tigers, obviously Matt Taylor, I don't know if it's hard to say if he lived up to that billing or not. The hype was so high, so I don't think he lived up to like all that hype. But he was obviously a great player. And when they had Slocum going, they were a formidable team. The Slocum moving really hurt them, even though Ben did. And then I do not like the trade that they made with us. I think they just took away all their depth, by trading Joe Ellis to us for Crunk and then swapping the goalies. That just, when we played them, we were just the deeper team. They could not match our depth, and then that put a lot of pressure.
Oh,
And we might have lost Troy. So
that put a lot of pressure on Matt Taylor as like the high end players. I'm shocked actually that the Tigers are not in one of the teams in the finals. I don't know the road. I'd have to check the road of they just go through the North Stars. I'm still kind of shocked actually. And it was a close game, close series with the North Stars, but I think they were still really good. I think this is one of those things you can chalk up to like the Tigers being the Dallas Stars of last year, where they lose Game 7 to the Blues, right? And the Blues end up winning the entire thing. I think if the North Stars do that, then that's what they would go down as. Not saying they will, but just I think the Tigers were still a really good team regardless of depth. Matt Taylor was unbelievable, and every game that I saw him play, he was just absurd. So points or not, like I think he was crazy.
yeah, I kind of felt, there was times where you saw Matt Taylor really kick it into high gear, and it was like, that is scary there. And other times he didn't, so it was hard to say, is he holding back? Is he not? Dylan, what are your thoughts there?
I think actually the Tigers outplayed themselves. I think they looked a lot worse. I didn't think they were going to be that good. I think they were very top heavy, and then the later round people were not as good, but Skillman obviously a little smarter than me, and they played great. They played fantastic.
Yeah, I'm not sure what happened to Troy over here. I'm trying to call him back. I don't know if his battery ran out, something else happened. Who knows? I mean, he's a technology king over there and all. Last one on the list is obviously the Americans. Troy isn't here to talk about him, but I thought they were the most talented team in the league from top to bottom. When you get the number one pick for player, you get the number one pick for goalie. It's good to build that team. I thought last year the Americans really whiffed on that draft. This year they were out there, they were scouting, looking at players, making sure all the new guys, they knew who they were. And I thought they put together a real solid team, especially, we know Proctor is Proctor, he scores goals. But they were even they drafted Starr early. They still were able to score with the Antioch-Proctor combination. They had that tough line that still put in goals on the second line with, the Woods and the Sipses and all that. But, they made it work with that super strong defense as well. So, Dylan, what were your thoughts on those Americans?
I think the Americans obviously are a very good team. If
He's back. Yeah, he's back.
Phone died, boys. Phone died. Had to get to a charger.
Let's go.
But the Americans, I thought, were a very good team. Proctor doesn't get hurt that last game. It can go either way. On paper and just looking at them, honestly, I didn't think they were that good. But on ice, it's a lot different. They definitely pulled it all together there at the end as well. During the regular season, we matched up with them very well. We took it to them every single game. And then playoffs happen. We get that first win when Sugar's in. And the second game, we lose. In the third game, arguably, Proctor doesn't get hurt. Who knows? So I think they had ultimately a very good season. J. Flo played fantastic. Starr played great on defense. Antioch played great. Woods, what an effort he showed all year. Who would have thought he would be as good as he was? Yeah, that's my take on it.
Troy, we already wrapped up the Tigers, but what are your thoughts on the Americans?
Yeah, obviously, it's hard to. They were robbed. I mean, and again, I've been joking, about the malicious and reckless SEALs robbing the Americans, but and I am joking about that. I mean, it was an accident, but that being said, they were robbed. I mean, it's just again the legend of 2-2, like kind of what Dylan said. They were pretty I shouldn't say pedestrian because they still finished third. Like they were good in the regular season, but they weren't great. I felt like their second line, you could beat them up, but it was still kind of hard to score on J-Flow, But then gets into the playoffs and Proctor just takes it to another level. Like they played the one wild card game against the Whalers and just Proctor scores 3 goals in 3 minutes. Boom, that game's over. They don't have Proctor for game 1. The Americans lose. He comes in for game 2. Boom, scores a hat trick. Game over. And then game 3, they're up 1-0. And so it's very hard for me to say that the Seals would have won that game. I'm not saying that they couldn't have. This is no jokes aside. It's like obviously the Seals were good. They could have come back, but I mean, if they replayed that game tomorrow with a healthy Proctor with a 1-0 lead in the second period, it's like I'm betting on the Americans. So it's hard to be critical of them because I think they definitely got robbed. But their formula was like get the puck to Proctor, and you can have all the puck possession you want against the Americans, but when Proctor gets his chances, he's going to score, and then when you get your chances, you still got to get past a very good decor and Star and Edge and Simonelli and AJ Powers, and then you got to get past J-Flow. So their recipe was just, play good defense, survive that line too, and Proctor's going to score us 3 or 4 goals,
Yeah, and I mean, Antioch was hot all year as well. That guy's got a shot. You put those two together, Antioch's almost like that, I compare him almost to a Peso. He might be a little bit better than him, but he's the guy where I don't know if he could lead a line by himself. But you put him with the right guy, and he's going to go off all year. Kimmel, I think, is the same way. They can't lead a line, but you put them in the right combination, they're going to score left and right.
Yeah, Antioch is a better version of Peso because Antioch's got a great shot. He's a sniper. He can finish on his chances, and he's also a way better passer than Peso. He sees the ice a lot better. So yeah, it's like that's the thing. Like the Americans, like I think we beat them after the trade. We beat them, the one time, but the previous 2 times we play them, it's like I feel like you out puck possess them, 60-40, 65-35, but it doesn't fucking matter because then when they get their chance, they score, and then when you get your chance, you don't score. So they're a really frustrating team, to play against. So it's just a real bummer how that all went down.
It is. I mean, what would you say about people who are saying that the North Stars never actually played a healthy Matt Taylor in the playoffs?
Well, they can say all that they want about that, but we played Matt Taylor in the regular season and we beat him. We played, and then we played Matt Taylor in game 1. You can say, and we smoked him 8-2. So if you want to say like a healthy Matt Taylor is like he's going to make up 6 goals, it's like, come on, it's like I guess if that makes them feel better, they can do that. But we beat Matt Taylor in the regular season and we smoked him in the playoffs, and we beat him in the regular season twice. So if that's what Hedis needs to say to make himself feel better, go ahead.
Hedis isn't saying it. I'm saying it. I'm saying that you guys didn't actually play a healthy Matt Taylor when you smoked him there. You were playing a guy who's trying to come out there for his team, do everything he can to try to help them get a win. Obviously, he wasn't ready to go. From what I heard, you could tell he was hurt from the start.
Did you watch the game?
Unfortunately, I didn't. But I heard from what I heard there, he looked like he was hurt the whole way. He was very ginger with his elbow and his shoulder area, and you could tell he was not himself.
I'm not, and the reason I wasn't even, I know Dylan started laughing, but again, like we beat him 2 times in the regular season, and then in that playoff game, like his legs were working just fine. So I could say like, okay, his elbow's hurting him a little bit, so maybe he didn't finish all of his chances, but it's like it's not like he had 7 chances, and only if his elbow had been healthy he would have scored them. It's like his legs were working just fine. He was flying out there, but they weren't. But it's a one-man team. He had no help, and it's like we had Pete on him and Desert Swarm, and he had nowhere to go. So I'm not saying that a healthy Matt Taylor doesn't make it, a closer game. But to sit here when you can't get smoked 8-2 and say, "Oh, Matt Taylor wasn't healthy, therefore," it's just I'm sorry, it's not a 6-goal difference.
I do think you could say there could be a difference though when game 3 goes into overtime. that maybe in that game 3, a healthy Matt Taylor could make a difference to get them the win in game 3.
No doubt about it. I mean, no doubt about it. And
but Matt Taylor or Fister?
I was going to say, because that, I mean, yes, you can say that, but Fister was an absolute rock star for them. So he scored, I mean, so yeah. And again, I'm not saying in a 3-on-3 game 7, all the marbles that Matt Taylor wouldn't be scary as shit to play against, because he would be. And
that's where he would make all the difference right there. 3-on-3.
Yeah.
I just think when you're talking about in a game 3, someone like Proctor getting hurt, going out, nobody likes that situation, saying that could make the difference there. You know, Sugar came in. Obviously, he was not warmed up. He hasn't been on the team. He doesn't have that chemistry. I think you could say the same thing, that Matt Taylor could make the difference in game 3 for there. So if it's apples to oranges, but if you're going to make one argument, you have to make the other. That's my point there.
But I understand your point. It's just wrong, because Matt Taylor did play game 1. They got smoked. Then they played game 2 with Fister and they won. And then they took us to the wire with Fister in game 3. So they were better with Fister than Taylor. The Americans lost game 1 without Proctor, won game 2 with Proctor. We're winning game 3 with Proctor, and then he gets hurt during the game. I mean, so it's a stretch to try to compare those two situations.
Well, they were better with that. Fister's great. Love Fister. Not going to put him down there. But they were also better with a healthy Fister than they were with an injured Taylor.
Sure. I'm not saying that it's not a factor, but to try to compare it to the Proctor situation and make them the same, it's just not.
I mean, let's face facts. Matt Taylor's a second rounder, right?
Second rounder or second overall?
Rounder.
Matt Taylor?
Your brother paid points to make me say that, so no confusion there.
Yeah, there we go.
But anyways, I do feel bad. I just, the way that went down, and I know the Seals feel bad too. It's just extremely unfortunate, and it just sucks. And for what Proctor has meant to the league, for him to just go down like that and not win the keg for the first time under that circumstances, that the whole idea of like replaying games due to injury is just insane and stupid, and it's just kind of a fun little thing to talk about. But the whole idea was just because it's Proctor, because he's meant so much to Monday Night Lights, and he's been the man, and he's won the keg 3 times, and for him to be winning in a decisive game 3 and then get taken out, that's the whole idea. That it's just sad that that's how it goes down. You know?
Hey, let's face facts. One, we don't want anybody hurt, so that sucks. Proctor, like you said, obviously the guy won the first 3 cups. You want to take him down when he's healthy, just to say you're the team that did it. So I'm assuming if the North Stars would have been facing the Americans, you guys would have loved that opportunity, just as a pride factor right there.
Oh yeah, of course. I mean, it's great because, I mean, obviously the Seals are a nice consolation prize because, Whoop is Whoop. He's my brother, and Dylan has become a fun little guy, so that's going to be a lot of fun too. But yeah, I wanted Proctor to beat the Seals and then be the one to beat Proctor fair and square on the ice, not with a machete to his ankles,
And Dylan, as a Seal, how much did you guys pay to have Proctor taken out?
Pretty hefty fee. Well, pretty hefty fee, but no, it sucks the way it fucking happened. It really does. All things considered, you wish he was only out for 1 week. You still hope kind of gets out of there because he was going off. but yeah, tough thing to happen.
Did Troy die again, or did he just turn off his
I'm here, baby. I'm here, baby.
Hey, big money Troy, how about you splurge on a computer instead of your fucking phone?
Dave Sips said a while ago, he said we've been waiting for you to charge your phone. We've been telling you to charge your phone all week. So
well, every time he does a screenshot and he posts it in Slack, it's like at 5%. So I don't know how that guy survives.
I'm terrible with the phone charging. Guilty
as charged.
Charge it. Guilty as charged. I hope we provided a little entertainment for the boys.
Troy, real question. Do you guys have a computer in your house?
We have, dude, we have iPads, we have Microsoft Surface. I got 2 laptops. I just like my phone.
Oh, big money auto right there.
I find a laptop so like bulky and cumbersome, and then I'm stationary. I'm tied to. Well, I guess you can kind of move around, but I just like my phone.
Hey, you're the part of the new generation. Generation Z. They only like phones. They like apps. They don't like computers. So I get it. To be young again. So
there you go. I mean, you've seen. I got the double monitor set up at work. I'm cool. I'm computer tech. What do you want?
When are we gonna have a conference call next time you need to get a screenshot of your computer instead of taking a picture of it?
Yeah, that I can't do. That whole like Windows key, like I don't know how to do that little snip clip.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, snipping tool. It's so easy.
Oh,
snipping tool is amazing.
Yeah, and that's part of my charm. Sending the picture of the Excel file. It's part of my charm.
When I can't read that, what that picture has on it, it's not charm.
There you go.
But
what about those spring team names? The Has-Beens, the Say It Ain't Peso. I thought that was pretty good.
Ooh, Say It Ain't Peso is a good one.
Say It Ain't Peso.
There was a couple. I forget what the rest of them were, but yeah, they were. What was it? Something about Crunk with like the Funky Bunch or something.
Yep. Funky Crunks Funky Bunch. The Has-Beens, Say It Ain't Peso. I mean, I love that one.
Yeah, I think they're definitely stepping up their naming game compared to the GMs last spring. So. And I was one of them, to be fair. But does anybody else have anything else before we wrap it up?
I'm all done, boys.
We'll see you when you see you, big sexy.
See you, boys.
Let's go. Let's go, Mackie. I'm rooting for Mackie.
I can't wait for this race.
But yeah. So, anyways, I don't know when we're gonna have another podcast. I don't know when the season's gonna come back. So only time will tell, but I think besides that, with them being on Skype, kind of on the other computer, the music isn't super loud, so I think we're going to end it without our fade out music. So I think we are over. Talk to you later, boys.
It's a wrap.